All right, guys, I think we need to review what just happened this weekend, right? I mean,
The biggest truck show?
the biggest truck show ever, yeah. I can't believe that we had not one, not two, but 3 new trucks that were debuted in Detroit. Because trucks come out like every 10 years, and to have 3 of them roll out onto the stage was pretty cool. And I think we should start by kind of going over the different trucks that came out. And what we'll do is, why don't you go over kind of the most interesting trucks, and we'll each pick one, and we'll discuss why. And then at the end, let's talk about
What's coming?
Yeah, what's coming and what you didn't like at the show, because you've got some pretty cool video that you shot there as well.
Yeah, it's fun.
So let's start with Chevy and do it alphabetically, right? Chevy, it was interesting because they basically debuted the truck 2 days ahead of the show. Which,
On Saturday.
yeah, and let's dish some dirt while we're doing this, right?
Right.
A lot of journalists weren't happy about that, because for a lot of people that means that they had to come to the show on Friday instead of on
poor
Sunday.
journalist. Oh.
But I heard a lot of like,
Well, part of the reason was, I mean, there was a cold front. It was like 9 degrees half the time. These guys are coming from Florida and California. I mean, I get it, but
But here's the thing. I think it was smart of Chevrolet to do this because they kind of got ahead of the show a little bit. The whole thing was focused on them at that point.
well, considering that this is a big 3 debut, right?
Yep.
All 3 from the Americans. So what do you do to win? You go first, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did, and that's why they have the most views. Period. I mean, that's
yeah.
the,
So we did 3 videos obviously from the show. We did the Ranger, we did the Ram, and we did the Silverado. And the Silverado got the most views. I think it's almost up to like 400,000 views now. I got to thank the guys over at Ram for letting us do what's called a backgrounder. So they brought you and Andre, right? Tell me about that backgrounder.
Yeah, well, actually, Mike and I were there, and this wasn't never done before, actually.
No, right.
Where they invited several outlets. It was us, TFL Truck. There were like 5 other outlets, maybe
Yeah.
6.
Yeah,
And,
not many people at all.
And we were able to take cameras inside of the headquarters of
That dome,
FCA.
that cool dome.
Yeah.
In the design dome,
Yep.
and we talked to all the experts.
Yep.
This was just before the show.
yeah, right before the show.
And that was incredible. So we were able to get all information up front and make a great video.
Yeah, they didn't give us a ton of time. We got like 2 hours in there, but you know, it was 2 hours of almost one-on-one time with all the engineers, all the designers, and the trucks, which
And Jim Morrison, the head of
the head of
Ram.
Ram, which was
Yeah.
really cool. So
Yeah, I mean, we got to really thank Jim, Dave, Nick
Nick.
for setting it up,
Yeah.
and all the engineers and designers who were there. I mean, I edited that video, and it was incredible the amount of access I got. But there was one weird thing that happened, Andre. I was editing, and here's like, right? This is inside this really cool dome where they don't allow any cameras, and I heard, what the heck was that?
That was a drone.
What?
Not ours, though.
Yeah,
Not ours.
Somebody brought a drone in there?
Somebody flew a drone in the middle of their design dome, and we quickly kind of settled that down. Just, no more drone.
everyone's trying to do interviews, and there's going on in the background.
Nice. Let's look at the. Can you hear that? Oh,
Yeah, it's the drone. I'm sorry.
can you cut?
Was it a big drone or a small drone?
It was a
like
Mavic. It was a Mavic.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So it wasn't even like a Spark? Wasn't
No, it was bigger.
No,
It was a
big.
It
Mavic.
wasn't one of these little
It
guys?
was much bigger
No.
than that.
All right, this I could see flying indoors, but the Mavic, dude, that's like,
It's
4
huge.
times as big as this. Oh, wow, okay. Well, so let's talk about Chevy.
Yeah.
So they rolled it out Saturday night. They had their best friends, the media, and dealers and customers.
And truck legends.
And
Yeah, which actually was a huge chunk of the crowd.
Yeah, because these are actually regular guys and gals
Yeah.
who have Chevy trucks or GM trucks, and they were there kind of mingling amongst everybody.
Well, you know, Chevy's celebrating 100 years of the truck,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So this is all about trucks this year. And of course, the biggest news, the jaw dropper, where everyone was when they announced that
Straight 6?
Straight 6 diesel.
straight 6 diesel. And guys, that is only really the 3rd diesel in America.
Third straight 6.
Yeah, 3rd straight 6 diesel in America. There is the Cummins.
Yep.
There is a BMW. Now there is This one, when it comes, and the Mercedes is announced. And once upon a time, like straight sixes were the pinnacle of automotive engineering. They're smooth. They made for beautiful cars because they're super long, so they had this long hood. As a diesel, they very well balanced and
efficient.
And efficient. It's unfortunate that like the kind of the worst design in some ways, the V6 has become the go-to option
popular, yeah.
because for packaging, right, you can stick it into a lot of vehicles.
Right.
But it's cool that it's coming back. So
And this
obviously,
is GM designed.
Yeah.
They didn't go outside.
It's not
and
as
bring it
user
in.
based.
Yeah.
This is GM's design. They built it, and they are saying that it's going to be available in the first model year.
yeah.
So when the truck launches, within that year, the diesel will come out.
You know, I think they had to do that because, of course, Ford. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
They announced their diesel too. We'll
Yeah.
get to when we get to Ford. So let's talk about the other big thing. Of course, you know, GM was giving crap to Ford for building an aluminum truck, and guess what they did?
Yeah.
Half aluminum.
Half aluminum, though. To be fair, the bed, the bottom of the bed is still steel. It's a rolled steel.
They
and-
told
and-
us this 5 times.
They will not let you forget that they have the steel beds.
And also, and it's only a hinged components. So,
So anything with a
hood,
hinge is aluminum.
doors, yeah.
But it means that the truck drops 450 pounds, which is huge.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
It depends on, of course, on the.
It's relative, but it's still a
relative.
lot.
But yeah, but they did go to aluminum. So I think that the trend is now set. People are going to aluminum, and usually this kind of hinge thing is becoming kind of the go-to. So hoods, doors, anything.
Tailgate.
Yeah.
I
it's
think
become-
I think they said about 200 pounds of that 450 is just from the doors,
yeah.
and you know
That's a big
the
amount.
tailgate, which is a lot.
yeah.
And then the rest is in the frame because
Yeah.
they built a new truck from the ground up, right?
And
so
the
the new
frame
frame
is
is a
brand
lot
new.
lighter too.
All right. The other cool thing, of course, another jaw-dropping moment was that they said, you know, Chevy, of course, has had cylinder deactivation for a long time, but now the truck can run on only one cylinder. So 7 can be deactivated, you know,
Yeah, my
given the
brain-
right circumstances.
My brain.
How do you run on one cylinder?
Well, actually, there's some speculation about that. That it only goes to the one cylinder when you're coasting downhill.
With the wind?
Basically,
not
with-
towing anything?
Yeah.
it's amount of drag that's put into the internals. So
Yeah.
only one cylinder is being fired.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are still doing their thing.
Yeah.
So it's not so much that,
So-
that everything's not moving anymore.
Yeah, and there's a new technology, and we need to learn more about this,
Yes,
but
we
it's
do.
called fire skip. So it's all software based, and it's basically the computer decides, okay, there's no load, so I can actually skip firing these cylinders, but then I can bring them back up very quickly if I need the power.
Which they currently do with going from V4 to V8, V4 to V8. It's seamless. So if this works,
You spend a lot less money on spark plugs?
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
It's a really good question.
I don't know.
No,
That's a really good
you
question.
spend a lot less money on gas. Is the idea.
All right, and the kind of the marketing moment was the power tailgate. Now, of course, companies have done power tailgates, they've done dampened tailgates, but what they did, well, why don't you explain it? We'll show it too.
Well, the power tailgate, other people do it where it goes down without a push of a button. But General Motors has changed it up by having it go up with the push of a button or if you slightly lift the tailgate. And so far, I'd say about 80% of the people who are commenting about the tailgate say, I would never use that, only real men lift their tailgates and close their, by hand. But at the same time, I know an awful lot of people who wouldn't mind being able to hit a button to drop it and then walk away by just lifting it a little bit and
Yeah, there's a sensor there so you don't get like
Yeah.
your fingers caught in it. Now, of course, let's do some more dirt.
All right.
The best part of the evening for me was when Kent crawled underneath the truck.
That was awesome! Mr. Truck at work underneath the diesel. He is determined to find the DEF tank, which Chevy, by the way, says has been moved, so it's no longer sticking out underneath the frame. This is what they've just told him. So he is under there verifying it. Oh boy. That was, and he almost got into a fist fight with one of the designers, and he was, dude, if you guys have ever doubted how much of a truck guy Kent is, let there be no doubt.
But
He
then,
was covered in grease by the
He was. He had a grease stain across his chest.
Why did he crawl under the truck?
he was looking for the diesel DEF tank, the diesel exhaust
He
fluid.
saw
said,
it. He saw it in the. He saw the little diesel filler in the gas cap.
Which is the new, another new thing.
And they're like, "Hey, it's not a diesel, Kent," and he was not.
No, but somebody told him it was, and that's why he was crawling under to find the DEF tank, because he wanted to make damn sure it didn't go beneath the frame. He was going to hold them accountable if it did.
And then like one of their like marketing people took a picture of him and then like swarm.
they reported him.
Yeah, you see some guy that, go get him. Some guy's little
Like
thing
Mary Barra standing behind.
with a club in her hand ready to nail him.
Chevy Secret Service.
And then he got kind of stuck like a cork in a bottle under the thing.
It was pretty funny that he was just kind of like a turtle.
If you're wondering about the ground clearance number, it's about 1 Kent.
I mean the breakover angle.
He's established it himself. But the point was that he really wanted to see, and they're not going to bring out the diesel yet. It's going to be a while.
And the craziest thing, of course, we asked everybody to do what their favorite truck is.
Yeah.
And he picked, guess what he picked?
He picked the Chevy.
Well, it's really cool. I haven't been to the show in years, and there's so many new trucks here. The 4 trucks, it's hard to choose. But Chevrolet on the 1500, the new 2019 Silverado, all the things I wanted them to change, they changed. I mean, it now has the centered steering wheel and the seats so I can pull trailers and feel good about it all day long. They actually moved the brake controller from the left side to the right side where I've always wanted it, where Ram and Ford are, so I can be, my quickest reaction is to the right. And I think a lot of people is, so that's a big safety issue. It's a bigger cab. You cannot fault a bigger cab. And then someday we'll know about that inline 6 3-liter Duramax diesel. And all those come, well, the 6.2 and that 3-liter diesel come with a 10-speed. I mean, that's exciting. So wanting to know, what kind of numbers we're going to get for fuel mileage on the diesel will be a big story. But yeah, the truck is, it's got more cargo management in the back. They put the wall, inside wall and outside wall closer together. It's got a tailgate. You can push buttons and make it go up and go down. Yeah, it's got a lot of features on it. I think it's got the most improvements of any truck here. That's why I think it's the most interesting truck because of that. And the new design, the smaller headlights make it look like a bigger grille. Looks like a heavy duty to me. You got a lift kit package from the factory, 2-inch lift on a couple of models. I mean, that's awesome. So now, yeah, it's the real McCoy. It's got room.
They were taking a big risk by completely reinventing the nose and making it all new. And it doesn't look like the old Chevy.
The design is kind of polarizing.
Yeah.
But you need to see it in person, guys. I think before you make too many judgments, go see it in person.
It's a different truck in person. I
Now,
agree.
Mike, what questions do you think the viewers out there have
So,
that we couldn't answer?
how much is it going to cost?
Don't know.
Don't know.
We have no idea, right? Fuel economy?
Don't know.
Nothing.
Power specs? No.
Power specs? No.
Towing?
No.
Towing?
Towing?
No.
No, don't
Halo?
know. Don't know.
No.
No.
Do we know when it's coming out?
Yeah, we
Yes.
know that. It's
Oh,
coming
that's
out
good.
Q4 end of this year, basically.
Okay.
They're kind of taking a page out of Ford's book, right? Ford wants, any manufacturer wants to stay in the news cycle, right? So they dribble out all this information in a painful way. So I'm sure like 2 weeks from now, they're going to talk about, let's say,
The death tank.
whatever. Yeah, whatever, but they will, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
in a way, it's good for them. It's good for us because we get constant source of news, but it is frustrating. And if I were kind of a buyer of that truck, I'd be like, hey, just give me the details. Because they know the details. They know them. They know
Well,
some of them they don't know. So, like, maybe they haven't done the MPG testing yet officially. They don't know
EPA's
that.
not out
EPA
yet.
might not
Right.
have done yet.
Crash testing?
Crash testing, they don't know.
Right.
But some of it, like, how much horsepower the diesel it has, they probably know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, now Ford. Let's move on to the
Yes.
Blue Oval. That would be you, sir.
And one of my big things about that is the Ford Ranger, finally after 8 years, is back. And thank goodness, because the midsize truck market is blowing up. And by bringing this into the fold, I think that for us, it's going to make life a lot more interesting. This is an interesting choice because it has a 2.3-liter EcoBoost turbocharged engine and a 10-speed automatic transmission. The Ranger's back. Now check this out. All the other competition has optional engines. Right now, all we know is this one has that engine and that transmission setup. But this one is an FX4 package, which means off-roading, baby. So we have that to look forward to. All the other numbers we don't know yet, but we'll find out hopefully soon. We know there's 2 body styles for now. We have no idea whether or not they're going to offer other engine choices or transmission choices in the future, but their competitors do. The competition does, and it will continue to do so because when Jeep has their truck, that'll have a couple different engines, a couple different transmission options. But there's more. First of all, it's going to be coming out on the very first quarter of 2019, so we have to wait a while.
About a year.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. But that platform will underpin the new Bronco, and they're going to be built side by side in
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yep.
Okay,
So, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask the same questions that I asked for the Chevy because I know people want to know this.
Yeah.
Do we
Don't
know-
know.
We don't know anything, right?
No.
We just
Except
know
for
when
it's coming out first quarter 2019. We know that.
It's one of those things where they're gonna dribble stuff out
Yeah,
again.
just-
So
Now, there was one thing that was interesting that Ford did mention. They have no intentions of building an inferior truck to the competition. And so you could take that any way you want. Currently, in terms of vehicles that are out there that compete with it, what's their horsepower specs? Well, you can assume that Ford's at least going to match it, or at least try to. So
towing specs,
exactly,
et cetera,
payload,
et cetera.
towing, and everything else. Now, overseas, and this is based on the overseas model in certain ways, the truck does very well. So I'm assuming that when they bring it here, they have no intentions of losing, so to speak. To
But here's the other
competitors.
thing: the truck looks a lot similar,
It
very
does.
similar to the Global Ranger.
I was a
so-
little disappointed that it didn't have more of a sort of Ford America face, but
maybe vertical lights or something.
yeah,
something different.
something
You
different.
know, I kind of feel like they missed a bit of an opportunity there. You know, I would have gone like the Monster Truck Rally approach to rolling this thing out, right? I've been like, Sunday, 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 you love the F-150. You love the bigger brother F-250 Power Stroke. Now, the bigger, smaller brother is back.
with flames and, and
Hey,
explosions.
seriously, no, I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
It was in Europe for 5 years and he kicked some French ass. And to prove he's American, he's coming back. He's coming back with the heart of a coyote, right? And that's what that's what I would have done.
That,
I would have
she
put
should
that.
be working for Ford.
I would have like shot that truck out with flames, right?
Yeah, no.
I would have put the coyote in there, right? I mean, come on, really?
Yeah.
2.3 liter
Can you
EcoBoost.
imagine that thing with the
That
coyote in
little
it?
interactive, like,
That's actually a good point, Nathan. So,
Yeah.
you know, you guys think I'm joking about the coyote?
No, I'm not. No, I
that's
agree
it,
with you, though.
Right? The Ford Mustang comes out in two flavors, right? It comes out with the Coyote, the 5 liter, the GT, and it comes out with this engine, right?
Yes.
Which one which one sells the most by a long shot, right? Not just in America, but in the whole world. Think about that, right? In the whole world, the GT outsells this thing by like 10 to 1 or something. And this is a truck, and yet they take the smaller engine from the Mustang and put it in the bigger truck. I think everybody out there is finally happy to see a new Ranger.
Oh, that's exactly
Yeah,
it.
and I think I think it's great for the truck guys and gals out there that there's more competition in the mid-sized truck market because that means more trucks, lower prices,
Bingo.
better products.
better products.
Yeah, and that's my main deal is that it's part of this exploding market, and I'm dying to drive one.
All right, Andre, Ram.
Ram was my choice for the most interesting and best truck debut at the show because we know the most about it.
That's a good point.
And it's all new. So frame redesigned completely. They removed about 100 pounds from the frame. But the big news, I think, was the mild hybrid system for the Hemi and also the V6 gas engine. They also said the EcoDiesel will come later, maybe in the 2019 calendar timeframe. But the big story also is the interior design, I think.
It's brand new.
It's brand new design. They completely redesigned the entire lineup, so there's like 7 different trim levels. Similar names as there were before, like Tradesman for the work truck and Limited for the most luxurious. But when you get on a Limited truck, and you saw that too, right?
Oh, man. It was really nice.
12-inch vertical screen.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the Tesla, right? Gigantic touchscreen. You could put, one screen, horizontal screen here and here, so you can have 2 functions.
Like
at the same
navigation
time.
and radio and
Right.
Yeah, or climate control or whatever.
At the same time, or Apple CarPlay on the bottom, navigation on top, or whatever you want. And all the leather and the wood and just everything is really well done.
reclining rear seats.
And
Cool.
heated and cool
and
rear
cool
seat.
rear seats.
They're cool too.
Cool.
Oh, by the way, people were asking us if the Chevy has rear vents. Yes, it does.
Okay, good question.
The Ram also has rear vents.
Yep.
So overall, they removed about 222 pounds from the truck. So not as much as Chevy did.
Not as much.
with their new truck.
But
All right, let's ask those questions again. How much will it tow? How much does it cost? What's the fuel economy? None of that. But what is
I know a lot of it. I know. Yes, we do.
We do.
we do.
So 2,300 pounds of payload. So
Oh, yeah, we do
my
know,
problem,
actually.
my problem with the Ram truck has always been the half ton.
Yeah.
Not quite enough payload.
Right.
They do have the air suspension,
Right,
and they
right.
still have the air suspension now. But when you configure a 4-wheel drive truck with a crew cab, the payload numbers always came down, like below 1,500 pounds. And
Right.
that's not enough. So they bumped it up about
lot.
20 to 25%
Yeah.
higher than it was. Maximum towing 12,700 pounds.
Right. Oh.
12,700. Is that the hybrid Hemi or the regular Hemi?
We
There's
don't know
only-
which config that is,
Oh.
but it's probably a 2-wheel drive truck, right, with a
Yeah.
Hemi.
Yeah.
But That's not as high as the F-150, right?
Right.
So the 2018 F-150 is at 13,200.
Yeah, that's right.
And I asked the chief engineer at Ram, why did you not go for the top? You know,
Right.
why did you go 12.7? And the answer that Ram gave us basically was, we don't think anybody in the half-ton market tows 13,000 pounds. If they are, they should be getting a heavy-duty truck because you're more than doubling, almost tripling the weight of the truck itself
Of the truck
Yeah.
itself, yeah.
when you put 13,000 pounds behind it.
Yeah, okay,
And
so
so I said, okay, that's fair, but they beefed up the axles, the frame, everything is new. And it's coming out like in April timeframe, Q2 of 2018.
Soon.
You know, yeah, and I think you make a good point, Andre. You know, you could have a half ton tow 13,000 pounds, but it becomes like the tail wagging the dog, right?
Yeah.
I was just talking to a guy this morning who just brought a Super Duty, and he tows an Airstream, 23-foot Airstream, and he said it's overkill, but he said, you know, when you're going down, you've got that brake, the exhaust brake, and it's true, get the right tool for the right job, you know?
You
And
wanna be comfortable.
talking about tools, there was a lot of hammer usage there.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? I didn't make it.
Because,
The designer talked about different styles.
well,
of hammer.
designer had the hammers laid out. I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, they had all the
I'm like,
hammers.
huh, that's really interesting that the sledgehammer is here and blah,
For
blah,
the different,
blah.
for the different
Leave it to the Russian to find the hammers.
I love this, that they actually used real hammers and designed the interior with that same feeling in mind.
It was a sickle. I'm just saying.
for the different flavors of the truck, they had
Right.
different hammers.
They did.
And then we read all of our comments, and people did not like the
They didn't like
hammer.
hammers.
The other
Sorry, guys,
thing,
no more hammers.
the other
I
thing
promise.
that people were a little critical of was the fact that they got rid of the crosshair grill, right?
Yes,
yeah.
new style.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, you know, don't go crosshair, go like, you know, 2 6 guns.
That would be pretty cool.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
That's a freebie for you guys.
Yosemite Sam?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What do you think of the new front end? I like it personally.
I like it too.
So my favorite truck style, and that's the way I picked Ram, is Rebel. Okay, the new
Yeah.
Rebel, and the way it's like a Power Wagon that was shrunken down just a little bit, and they're offering more choice. You can get it in the quad cab, which is like extended cab, crew cab, V6, V8, steel suspension, steel coils,
Yep.
or air
air
suspension.
suspension.
So a lot more choice, and that's the truck I would pick.
I think the all-new 2019 Ram 1500 is the most interesting truck in Detroit because of choice. Not only are there more distinct trim levels, but they're offering a mild hybrid system on both the V8 Hemi and the Pentastar V6. The new Rebel has 2 suspension options. There's a steel coil suspension, also the air suspension. The truck tows more, it has more payload than before, and I just love the interiors. The limited interior is just so excellent with a 12-inch infotainment screen.
Talking about dishing dirt, right? The Chevy will also come in a Trail Boss version, which they rolled out first in red, so there'll
Yeah.
be a dirt-worthy version of that. And the Ranger will have an FX4 package, but we don't know anything really about like breakover angles or.
Well, it'll be similar to
It'll
the
similar.
European
And-
or
and
global.
all
Well,
these-
we know the Chevy comes with a standard 2-inch lift with the
standard,
trail box.
Yep, standard 2-inch
And
lift.
those
I'm
tires.
assuming like locking rear diff, locking rear diff, locking rear diff.
Yeah.
And then, not to be outdone in the in the halftime market, Ford also came out with the F-150 diesel, and they announced a hybrid. So we're going to have 2 diesel half tons now with Chevy.
And soon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And this diesel in the Ford, of course, is the one that's in the Land Rover. It's a 3-liter, so it's been around a while, but the Chevy one's going to be new. But it'll be interesting because Ford has said that they're going to get how much? 30? They didn't say
They're
exactly.
targeting 30 mpg, but they also unveiled all the other numbers on the diesel: 250 horsepower, 440 pound-feet of torque. It is a 10-speed, and also 11,400 pounds of max towing and 2,020 pounds of payload. Chevy said, "We'll take those numbers and we'll raise you something."
And that's what Ram said
And
too.
then Ram said the
Mike
same
Manley
thing.
came out and he was spitting tobacco and getting angry. He's like, "We're gonna beat them." So this is a war, which is awesome because it's good for you guys because you know.
Oh, and another thing, the Ram booth at the show is here. Ford is butting up against
Yeah.
it,
And right across.
Chevrolet is across the way.
Yeah.
And they're all like putting their biggest trucks, like pointing at each other like
Oh,
this.
It was pretty.